Oh, we're live.
All right, we're live. I can't believe this. I'm so excited to host my very first Google Hangout on air tonight with the wonderful Sandrine Marois. Yes, I did say that right. I did have some French in there. But today is a special episode of Peg City Chat with Nat. And I'm your host, Natalie Bell. And as I said today, I have the awesome Sandrine Marois, who is a social media journalist, curator, and most notably, an author. Tonight, Sandrine and I will chat about blogging, social media, and how it relates to business, or just blogging in general. And so all of you entrepreneurs and small business owners, mompreneurs, general public, everyone alike will have something that they can take away from this chat. Quite a few gold nuggets for you. Right, Sandrine?
Hopefully.
So just a few housekeeping notes before we begin. If you aren't able to join this live chat right now with us via Google, of course, please be sure to follow along with us on Twubs at the hashtag SMSlantChat. It's been all over Twitter, so you should be able to find us quite easily. And we'll be interacting a lot tonight. We'll be having some question and answers. Please feel free to chat with us. Please feel free to send us a tweet. We will be going back and forth. I look like NASA in here. I have like 4 screens going at the same time, so I'm very excited. But for those of you that can't join us tonight, be sure and know that it will be on YouTube later for you to view. And there will also be an accompanying blog post that I will be writing as well to capture all of the resources and items that we're going to talk about tonight. So the first 30 minutes will be more of an interview style, and then the final 30 minutes will be question and answer time. So make sure you get those burning questions ready for Sandrine. Not for me, because I'm the host. I'm not answering any questions. Just bugging you. All right, so please note that this is live. This is go time right now, so we may have to cut interview questions short if necessary, just to be able to connect and interact with anyone that's talking to us online. But make sure you try to stay with us from start to finish and catch it all. So with that, before I get started with the chat and the questioning, you should probably know who Sandrine is. So let me formally introduce you. A native of France, Sandrine is now a proud Winnipegger, and I'm so happy about that, who has been interacting in this grand old blogosphere since 2005. Over the past few years, she has gained knowledge and forged some pretty influential relationships in the online realm. And that knowledge has been luckily transferred to us, the general public, to business people, to small business owners, to entrepreneurs via her blog, via her amazing Google Plus posts that she's always posting, and of course, what we're here to chat about tonight, her ebooks. So, everyone, please welcome me in join me in welcoming Sandrine Marois. So, hi, Sandrine. How are you?
I am good, thank you. How are you?
I'm awesome. Wait. This is great. So, how have you been?
Busy.
Yeah, it's been a couple years since we've seen each other.
Yeah, since M-Blog, it's been a really, really busy time, especially since I started working on the last ebook, but I'm always, always, always busy, so life's good. That's all I can say.
That's awesome. Good. What's really funny is that when Sandrine came online, I was like, oh my gosh, who is this woman? But the last time I saw Sandrine, she had short hair. So.
Yep, that's the shocking part.
All right. So I've been, of course, very lucky to have been able to meet you at MBlog a few years ago. And so we've connected online, and we haven't really had the chance to get together offline. But obviously tonight, this is a good chance for us to get together. So when I went to MBlog, it was my first conference, and I was very ecstatic to know that someone locally had written a book on blogging and social media. And as more of an introduction in your background, I was wondering if you could take us on a little journey of highlights from 2005 when you started blogging to releasing your first ebook, which is The Little Big Ebook on Blogging. So if you could just take us on that journey, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's been a long time, almost a decade, eh? Oof. Since 2005. Well, when I started in 2005, blogging was basically in its infancy in the sense that it mostly was about sharing diary-like thoughts almost. So we only had social networks like MySpace or Orkut, and if you remember, if you're old enough to remember, the IRC chat rooms as well, which were the
Gosh,
main modes.
those.
They were the main modes of communication. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have that kind of stuff. So it was hard at first. The first steps, my first blogging steps were really, really hard because I didn't know what to do. I had no clue where to go. And at the time, we didn't have the information that we have today. So I opened several blogs and they all petered out eventually. And they always left me wondering what I was doing wrong. So I started doing a lot of research and, came in contact with Facebook and Twitter in 2008. And, that opened a few doors for me. And then in 2009, I met a wonderful marketing person called April Sims, and we spent a year connecting together and brainstorming ideas on branding, on marketing, on social media, and without her, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So. And I spent that year also networking with a lot of people, continuing doing research, attending webinars, and reading blogs and observing the way competition were doing things, basically. So the logical result was that my knowledge of social media solidified. So when I revived a blog I had started a year earlier, things started to become a little clearer for me. And I realized that I had finally found my audience and the way to establish my name as a trusted professional. By the end of 2010, traffic really started to take off. It was amazing, and now 4 years later, Creative Ramblings has run its course. Basically, I started another blog, and within a year, this blog gathered 100,000 views. So
wow.
Yeah. So I released a little biggie book on blogging in 2012, and since that time things have gone up for me really great. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I am a proud owner of both of your books, just so you know.
Thank you.
I knew I had to get this book because, first of all, the title says it all, right? Little book, lots of info. I wanted to really start generating traffic for my own blog. And I wanted to get that information from someone who had been a blogger, gone through all of those painful formative years, as you say, and ended up being successful. So I think there are two lines in your ebook that say it all for me, and that was a real clincher for me. And you said, one, I consider myself a successful blogger, and two, I want you to be a successful blogger too. So for me, that was gold. That was like, okay, here's someone who's done it, who's gone through the trenches, who knows what it takes to be successful as a blogger. So why would I not want to continue to support and read what you have to say? And it's something that's so simple to implement and easy to read. So I really appreciate the framework that you implemented for the book. And you start right from which blogging platform to use. So when you think of the structure of the book, how did you decide to structure it to make it in a way that it was user or reader friendly?
Well, when I write something, I always have my audience in mind. I always try to put myself in my audience's shoes because that's what I do. I help others. So I wanted to structure the ebook in a way that was relevant and logical to readers. For example, the way I started is because I know one of the first things that I speak about with people when starting blogging is, they mention the myths, like making money really quickly or getting a lot of traffic overnight. So that's what I started with. I really used what I knew my audience usually asked, the kind of question that they asked, to structure the book in that way.
Okay. I think the biggest, I guess, what do I want to say? The biggest theme of your ebook is that you want to talk about blogging from a human perspective. So did you want to start writing, or did you start out wanting to write this book for just basic business bloggers or bloggers in general? How did you come to who you were writing this book for and why?
Well, when I revived my old blog, Creative Ramblings, basically I started working with independent artists and small business owners and solo entrepreneurs. So my goal has always been to focus on entrepreneurs. That's always been my goal. But at the same time, I've always written for people, with people in mind. And I know that when you have a business, you work with customers. So you have to focus on the human side of the equation if you want to be successful, right? So that's when I taught French to adults for years. I still do it, actually. But what I've always said is this: you can call working with clients whatever you want, but at the end of the day, these people will come back to you and support you because you have delivered good customer service. So that's really what I wanted to do: write for those people who write for other people, who work for other people.
Okay, that's fair. I like that. For the people, by the people, to the people.
Exactly. That's the thing about social media. It's about people. I always define social media as about the human journey. So that's really what it is about. Social media is about social. It's about people.
Right. Exactly. And it doesn't matter if you're offline or online. Social, that word carries that meaning that it's about people. So getting further on, when you think about what they say, content is king. That's what they say. You've said it. You dedicated 2 chapters providing quality content and providing useful content. Those were 2 chapters you dedicated in your book. So what would you say, maybe the top 5 questions one should ask when they're thinking about what to write?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually, because a lot of people skip that step, right? They don't ask themselves those questions. That's why they don't always know what to do. So number 1 question always: who is my audience? That's a number 1 question, because without an audience, you have no business. You have nothing to write about. The second question is: what problem does this audience need solved? Basically, what questions do they have that they need answers for? That's the second question. The third question, I would say, third very, very important question, is: how can I successfully solve this problem? Which ties into question number 4, which is: what format do they want the content delivered in? Would it be rather in a list, in a video, in a presentation, slides, tutorial, how-to, and so on and so forth? And the 5th question, which is very, very important and that a lot of people forget about: if I were a reader of my blog, would I understand the language that I use?
Ooh, I like that one. See, now those are questions that I don't even think of myself. Thanks, Cendrine, thanks. So the 4th, wait, let's go back to the 4th question you said. No, that was the last question you said. It was about the language. So,
yes.
Yeah, so when I think of language, you're not talking dialect, you're not talking English, French, you're talking like people language. How do you kind of express?
Yeah, so we're talking about when you have a blog, when you're online, you have a global audience, right? So what happens is that a lot of people online won't speak English as their mother tongue. So they may speak French, they may speak Spanish, they may speak Mandarin, and so on and so forth. So it's not just a matter of speaking the language of the people. It's speaking a language that's easy enough for everyone to understand, to make it as easy as possible for them. That's really...
That makes sense. That makes sense. We're going to get to a kind of sore point for me. And I only say sore because I'm bad at this, and perhaps you can help me, and that's why I'm going to ask this question. So I personally, myself, on my blog, I have almost 40 unfinished posts in my draft folder.
Wow.
40. So I know that's shocking, but what I do and I don't know, I get these ideas in my head and I'm like, okay, oh my gosh, this happened. I need to write about it. I write 2-3 paragraphs and then I leave it because I'm like, okay, well, I didn't get a picture that relates to it, so I'll get back to that later. And then I get kind of stuck with that, and I want to optimize and maximize my posts.
Yeah.
So what kind of tips do you have for me? And hopefully I'm not the only one in this boat. As a matter of fact, I know I'm not the only one in this boat. But what kind of tips do you have for people like me and for me who are feeling that same kind of craziness?
Yeah, well, for people like me too.
Yay!
In both here. It happens to me all the time, I'm going to be honest. So just like you, I write 2-3 paragraphs, and I'm like, I'm on another idea that is absolutely irrelevant to what I'm writing right now. So I change, I open another, I start a new post, and so on and so forth. So I would say never prevent yourself from writing. Just continue writing and writing and writing. Yeah. Then what you can do is actually take a break, and then go back to your post and look at the posts that focus on the similar ideas, and then regroup them. And then you will realize that most of the time you're writing about the same thing. So you can regroup these ideas and turn them into paragraph and see, use bullet points and subtitles to regroup them under the same sub-ideas and so on and so forth. That's what I do all the time, and it works. And it's what we do for an ebook as well, because most of us start with a blog, right? And then when we have enough material, we turn it into an ebook. So it's about organizing those ideas as well. And that's what I did with my second book, actually. I thought I had the greatest idea in the world for the second book. And then, as it turns out, when feedback from my advanced readers came up, I realized, oh my goodness, I don't have the right idea. So I had to reorganize all the ideas and regroup them under similar ideas and so on and so forth. And that's how I reorganized the ebook. And that's why it looks the way it does now. So it's all a matter of
what you're saying is that I probably have an ebook or two in my arsenal right now. Right? Mm-hmm. Why not? Why not? So we do have a question online right now, but I'm going to get to that in a second. I want to just, because it's related to this question I have here. So one of your chapters talks about writing different types of posts and ensuring variety. And the question that's coming in from online from Katrina, Katrina is wondering, what if you have multiple audiences and multiple niches to address?
Okay. Okay.
I think it means, I guess she could probably tweet back at us, but she has multiple audiences. So when you're looking at variety and how to write your posts, how does she deal with that?
Well, I would say, depending on how irrelevant the audiences are from each other, I would have actually several blogs. I wouldn't try to regroup everything on the same blog. I would try to have a blog on a specific topic, then another blog on another specific topic. So I wouldn't try to regroup. That's the mistake I made with my blogs at the beginning. I tried to cover too much ground with my blogs. That's why they never work out, because I had the audience that came to visit my blog was so different. Like, all the people were so different that they were confused about the purpose of my blog. So I would advise people to keep a blog on a specific topic and have another blog on another topic if it's very different audiences. That's what I would do, because otherwise you're gonna confuse them, and they're not gonna be sure what they're supposed to expect from your blog.
Okay. Well, I hope that answered your question, Katrina. Keep them coming. So near the end of the first ebook that you have, you dedicate an entire chapter on practicing gratefulness and mindfulness. And I mean, I think that's something that's key in everyday life, never mind blogging. So it's really important to be a part of, kind of how you blog as well. So what are your kind of top 3 tips, or why people should be practicing gratefulness and mindfulness while they're blogging?
Well, because first, it makes you human. Because
Yeah.
as a blogger, people go to your blog because they want to read your articles and they want to read your words. They want you to share your story because it makes you human. It also shows that you care about others, I think. For me, being grateful about what the little things people do for you is very important, because most of the time we take people for granted and people are not expecting you to be grateful. That's one of the things I see. So being grateful makes a huge difference in the way people respond to you. And the consequence of that is, as a blogger and as an entrepreneur as well, you realize that people will be much more comfortable buying from you than buying from competition, because it shows that you are humble, that you are approachable, and that you can be trusted as such. And being grateful and mindful also helps you remember that without your audience, you are nothing. You have no business, you have no blog, because you may have the best ideas in the world. If you don't have the audience, if you have no one to support you, you will never be successful, right? So
I mean, commenting on other blogs obviously is key. But even, retweets, things like that, are those some of the kind of items you would suggest to people? Simple things that they can easily do. Yes, obviously saying thank you to people and whatnot, but just the simple things like, sharing this post that resonated with you, something like that, right?
And you don't even have to say thank you, but put them in the forefront. Write an article and say, oh, I would like to introduce you to my friend such and such. She has been a reader of my blog, blah, 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 and this is what she does, and so on and so forth. So it's a way also to thank people without thanking them directly. It's a way to promote them, and people love it too. So
Okay.
it's part of the whole thing.
It's one complete package. Yeah. All right. So before we move on to your newly released ebook, I want to keep talking about this ebook, of course, because I think it really will. It has such an impact on everyday blogging, and I'm sure we'll get to some other questions later. However, I know that there's a chapter in the Little Big Ebook of Blogging that has been one of the hardest for me. I'm going to admit again, here I am admitting all these things for myself. And it's called Be Patient. Now, I'm one of the most patient people on this planet. I have 3 kids, my fiance, I'm at work, I have a team. Things are happening all the time. My sister, my dad, my, nephew, like family. I am a patient woman, except when it comes to my blog. So, how do I stop that feeling, or how do I minimize that feeling of constantly wondering, is someone going to interact with me today on this post, or will that big brand ever recognize me to work with me, or just how do I stop from checking numbers every day, things like that. How do I minimize those feelings, or how do I tackle it in a more productive way?
Well, I am going to be honest with you. It
Aha.
depends on you. It depends on you. It's all about training your brain not to think about those things. So you are the one who actually calls the shots on everything you do with your blog or anything else in life, right? And at the same time, we are our worst enemies and judges, right? So one of the things I've noticed about a lot of bloggers is that they have goals that are too big for them. Uh, they want people to interact with them. They want a big brand to work with them. They want people to advertise on their blogs. They're expecting this and that. Instead of doing that, change that way of thinking. Start small and focus on small and achievable goals. Take things one step at a time, because the benefit of taking small steps at the time is that it builds your confidence and helps you be more patient, because that way you can celebrate every little achievement. That's what I do all the time. So instead of focusing on numbers, just like, oh, I want to have 25,000 visitors next month, instead of focusing on that, focus on continuously delivering content that others want to read. Because at the end of the day, word of mouth will work. But I do understand the feeling. You're frustrated when you've been blogging for a while. You do not see results and so on and so forth. And stop comparing yourself to others as well, because that makes you impatient, because you see the big bloggers out there who have made it big, but you do not often realize we do not often realize that it's only the tip of the iceberg. These people have worked for years to be where they are. A blog like Pro Blogger, for example, they have been around for a decade at least, I think even longer than that. So it takes a long time. So as I said, you are the only one who decides to be patient or not. So start small. Basically, for everyone, do like I always do. Start small, focus on small and achievable goals, and celebrate every little victory. It will make you very, very patient, because you'll see, oh yeah, I achieved this, and then oh, I achieved that. And at the end of the day, if you look at the journey, you will be able to see that you actually achieved a lot.
Okay. I can say I already do some of that. I definitely already do some of
Oh yeah.
that. I celebrate those small victories for sure. So maybe I'm not as impatient as I thought.
No, you're not. I don't think so.
So
I
I
don't.
just want to kind of mention, I know we have a couple of viewers right now. So if anyone would like to shoot us a question or join in on the chat, please do so. But at the same token, we will be drawing for one lucky winner to receive a copy of the Little Big ebook on blogging at the end of the chat. So please be sure to participate with us online on Twitter, and you'll be able to be randomly chosen, hopefully, as the person who wins at the end of the chat today. So I just want to say I really appreciate the simplicity and the basic instructions that you've provided in your first ebook. And I mean, I have it on my Kindle on my phone so that I can refer to it as necessary. It's always right here with me. So a huge thank you to you for this ebook, because I think it's a real staple item for the new bloggers, the veteran bloggers, businesses, those who are just thinking about taking that first step blogging. So huge kudos and thank you to you for this first book. And then we can obviously be talking about the next book, but I wanted to make sure I thanked you so much for this
Thank
one. Yay, Sandrine! Okay, so one book wasn't enough for you. So let's switch gears and let's talk about your new ebook that just released last week, right? Yeah. And it's entitled The Little Big Ebook on Social Media Audiences. Build yours, keep it, and win. So I just ordered mine not too long ago, and I'm still kind of working through it. But what was your reasoning for writing this particular ebook? And, kind of like, what's your goal for this one? And would you consider it an extension of your first book? Or is it completely different and you just have another vision?
I think it's not an extension. Some people may say it is, but I don't feel it is an extension. I don't know. It's completely different, but at the same time, it's from a human perspective. So maybe the link is there. I don't really know. But um, for the last couple of years, I've whether it's in my social media classes or on the blog or from clients, my conversations always tend to revolve around the topics of audiences and advocates who the people who love you so much, such fans of your work, of your products, and so forth, they will vouch for you. And the questions were always the same. The questions from people: how do I increase the number of fans I have? How do I get more readers to my blog, and so on and so forth? So I figured, there's something that is missing in people's strategy. And a lot of experts, talk about ROI, how to make money, making sales, and so on and so forth. But, I don't see many people talk about audiences. Audiences are the most important part of the puzzle, and almost no one talks about it. Yes, some people talk about it in articles, but I've not seen books or anything like that covering the topic. So I figured, I am going to talk about that because I think it's the most important thing that people have to work on to be successful. Because once you know your audience, your strategy will fall into place normally. Because once you know who you're addressing, the kind of problems you are solving, and so on and so forth, then you're good to go. Of course, then you will have to change your strategy a little bit on the way, adapt, adjust, and so on and so forth. But for the beginning, you have the big picture. You know what you're doing. So my intended goal has always been to work with small businesses and entrepreneurs, because what we talk about a lot is big brands, but we never talk about solo entrepreneurs, small businesses who do not have the money to launch expensive campaigns. They do not have that kind of money. They do not have that kind of time. So there has to be someone to help them do that, right? So that was the goal with ebook, basically.
So, okay, you're kind of talking about the same type of thing, I guess, is that knowing your audience is the same in your blog as it is in the rest of your social media strategy, right? Mm-hmm. And that's for businesses, that's for anybody, that's just kind of how it is. Mm-hmm. So what are some, I guess, and because I know you have lots of different stats and facts, so I was just wondering if you could share some stats or facts that people really don't think about or know when it comes to social media and social media strategy.
Well, facts. I will share some facts because stats are a nice thing, but without any context, they don't mean anything. So I'm going to share facts. I think they're more important. One very, very important thing that people forget when they jump on the social media bandwagon is that you need a strategy. They often try it because everyone has told them you have to do it. You have to be on Facebook, you have to do this, you have to do that. But people jump on the bandwagon and then after 2 weeks wonder why it's not working. Well, that's because you do not have a strategy. And another thing is that you shouldn't use all the social networks the Facebook way. It's a sure way to fail, for sure. I can tell you about it, I know.
So I'm sorry, say that again. You shouldn't use all?
You shouldn't use all the social networks the Facebook way. Because each social network serves a specific purpose and has a specific audience. On Facebook, people mostly want to be entertained. They want to see pictures of cats and so on and so forth, pictures of food. And on Google Plus, they want to see other things. They want entertaining conversations, but conversation that thoughtful and people are respectful. The conversations are usually a little more clever than they are on Facebook, and so on and so forth. So you do not need to be everywhere either, right? So you have to know the purpose of each social network to be able to understand how each social network works. Because if all social networks worked in the same way, they wouldn't exist. There would only be Facebook, right? Yeah. And another thing is, I would say, as I said earlier, that people don't think about is it's always about quality before quantity, which means that before asking yourself how to increase the numbers of your followers, focus on the people that you already have as followers, which means, do you know them? Have you built a relationship with them? So I do not think that there are little known facts. I think we all know them, but it's a matter of not wanting to take shortcuts, I think. That's an important thing. So
Hmm.
that's what I would say.
So this is really, curious to me because I'm pretty sure I do belong to every social network in some way or fashion. So I'm wondering to myself, am I doing what you just said? And I'm really gonna I'm gonna have to think about that. Really gonna have to think about that. All
Yeah.
right. So this particular ebook seems to be written more from the business side of things. So your small business, your local car dealership,
Mm-hmm.
the florist, those who aren't maybe particularly blogging for their businesses, but have or they want to get started, or they have Facebook and Twitter profiles, but they're not really using them yet, or they don't know how. So, in your opinion, how do entrepreneurs and small businesses not get overwhelmed with social media and the many different areas? Like, I mean, I think, a lot of businesses probably want to have a hand in Facebook, a hand in Twitter, a hand in Pinterest if you're a florist or whatnot. So how do they not get overwhelmed? Do they have to hire someone? Can they do it in-house?
Well, yeah, it's a hard question because as a solo entrepreneur, I don't have time either. So I understand. I absolutely understand how overwhelming it can get for a lot of people. So one of the thing one of the things I say is you should do social media like you do business offline. That's one of the first thing. Look at what you do successfully offline and use it to work online. Another important thing is to remember that no one is asking you to spend 12 hours a day on social media. If you only have 20 minutes a day, then make the most of these 20 minutes.
Mm.
Use these 20 minutes well. So if you only have 10 minutes in the mornings and 10 minutes in the evenings, spend those 10 minutes well. Have a schedule every week. On Monday, this is what I will do. On Tuesdays, this is what I will do, and so on and so forth. Have a schedule ready, handy, so that you remember what to do. Another thing is take the time to do research before jumping on the bandwagon. It will allow you to understand how to use your time and money efficiently. And as I said earlier, focus on small and attainable goals because you cannot master everything. Social media is my job. It's something I do 24/7, or 24/7. I have to sleep and eat, obviously, but I do it 12 hours a day, between 10 and 12 hours a day. And even I cannot master everything. It's absolutely impossible because I cover tools, social media tools, and there are hundreds that pop up every month. So it's absolutely impossible to master everything.
Mm.
So small and attainable goals, that's the most important thing. And one last thing I would say, stop comparing yourself to others. One thing I always say, you are unique and you have a unique story to share, and nobody else can tell it the way you do, right? And that's really ultimately why people are interested in coming to you instead of the competition. So if you do not want to get overwhelmed, focus on what you do well offline as a starter, then start from there. But use your time well. You don't have to be there 12 hours a day, really. It's useless. We all know you don't have that kind of time.
Okay. That's good. That's a very good hearty tip for anybody, never mind just businesses or small business owners. So the premise of this book is built on four pillars: finding, engaging, creating, and connecting. So
Yeah.
can you take us through each pillar and how it relates to social media?
Okay. So, since I wanted to focus on something very basic, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. That was not my goal. I wanted to create something really, really basic in plain English. So why those four pillars? Because they all relate to a basic strategy, whether you're offline or online, right? So the first pillar, which is finding, it's basically how to find your audience, which is the most important piece of the social media puzzle. The second pillar is engaging, how to start conversations, how to ignite conversations with this audience, and do it where they are the most comfortable to respond to you. The third pillar, creating, is basically about how to create quality, relevant, and useful content. But that converts as well, because you want this content to make you a go-to resource. You want to show off your expertise through this content.
Right.
And the fourth pillar, which is connecting, is basically how to connect with your audience in a respectful way, how to treat your audience with the respect they deserve, as I always say, and how you allow this audience to basically witness your journey and action. And as I said several times, the online and offline worlds are very similar universes. So someone who will tell you otherwise will be basically lying. The only difference as I see it is that people are hidden behind their screens. They will tend to be a little more vocal, but at the end of the day, we are all human beings. And what we are looking for is to belong somewhere, to belong to a community, to be accepted somewhere. So whether we are online or offline, if you can give this feeling to people, you will win.
Wow, that was powerful, Sandrine. That's very powerful, and I really, like you said, it's simple. Finding, engaging, creating, connecting. Simple premise that you should use in daily life, even, right? Never mind transferring it over to your business and the social media strategy that you may have. So, you talk a lot about social media policy as well. How do you find that social media is, I guess, being affected by some upcoming legal action? For example, the anti-spam law that's coming in Canada July 1st. How do you think social media is starting to get affected by some of these legal requirements now?
I don't think social media is affected. I don't see it as social media being affected, because at the end of the day, we are the ones who make social media what it is. But bad practices, whether they're conducted online or offline, are the same. They're the same everywhere. So when it comes to spam and things like that, even with new laws, you have to remember, as a blogger, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, that people do not want to see fluff, and they do not want to see things that they didn't ask for. That's right. What you have to remember. You have to be respectful of their wishes. So, for example, if your subscribers have subscribed to your newsletter and you didn't tell them at the beginning that you were going to promote your ebook, promote your product within the newsletter, if you didn't tell them about that they're expecting something else, then they're going to consider you as a spammer. They're going to tell their friends he is or she is a spammer. Be really, really careful. And also remember, if you use visual content, for example, pictures, that this content online is automatically copyrighted. So if you must use a photo, for example, make sure you ask for permission beforehand, and give credit where credit is due. So I think the reason why we have all these laws right now is because a lot of people are abusing them online much more than they would abuse them offline. So it's not, it's, people will have to just use their common sense, I guess, because the laws are the same. We're going to come to a point where social media is going to be a lot more regulated. And
Yeah.
people are going to have a lot more careful about what they do online, which is a good thing, because we have seen so many problems with bullying in particular, and copyright infringement and so on and so forth. So it's, I would say that it's about time that we are finally having those laws.
Okay. Well, thank you for your opinion on that, because I know a lot of people are talking about that right now in every realm, really. Because if it's not one thing, it's the next. And so, like you said, it's the beginning of many different types of things coming this way. So we have a few questions here that I would love to get to, but I kind of have one more question before we get back to our audience here. So seems like you have a bit of a knack for writing ebooks. This is your calling per se. So what's your next ebook?
Haha. Well, I've been writing and self-publishing books since 2006, so I've been publishing, busy. But I have an idea for a new ebook, but I'm not telling.
Oh.
Nope.
So we will be pleasantly surprised in a little while.
Hopefully, I don't know. But it will be something very basic once again, because I like working with people who really need help, like beginners and people who are a little lost. That's my way of contributing to the community and to the world, I guess. I love helping people, and people want to learn too. So it's fun. There are enough people who help, big brands and big companies. I'd rather go for the smaller folks, because I'm a small fish in the ocean. So that's what I like.
I have a huge appreciation for the fact that it's simple to implement. It's easy tips, easy. There's no jargon and craziness. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I can follow along easily. So thank you. Continue. And I hope we have another interview in the future about your next book. All right, so I'm going to get to the questions here, because there's a couple. So we had Katrina again. She was the one asking about multiple niches and stuff, and she just wanted to provide some clarification on that. So, for instance, she says, I have my professional side and I have my advocacy side. My advocacy side literally encompasses autism, epilepsy, rare diseases, etc., because that's what she's dealing with in her family. So that's why she was asking about the multiple, multiple audiences for multiple niche, or how does she do that? That's where you had said maybe blog.
Yeah, I have several blogs. That's why I said, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have one blog for the professional side and one blog for the advocacy, because the thing is, as much as we would love to promote awareness, which is something I love doing as well, awareness of so many different things, what we have to remember is that our audiences may not be as interested as we are. Our audience is following us, part of our audience following us for certain things that we do, and not always for the other part of what we do. So that's why I suggested having two blogs, one for your professional side and one for whatever you want to do on the side.
Okay, that's fair. So hopefully, Katrina, I know she had to leave the chat, but because of this wonderful Q&A system here, she'll be able to log back onto this video and click on that question, and it'll go back to where you just answered it. So that's awesome. Love technology. Woohoo!
Yep.
All right, so this next question is from a Todd McIsaac. And let me just get to it here. I guess it's a two-part question. So he says, do you find phrases like entrepreneur and others are abused and overused? And he says that, for instance, the founder of McDonald's was an entrepreneur. The founder of Wendy's was not, although, yes, he was a good businessman. So entrepreneurs start something brand new. What are your thoughts on the phrases of entrepreneur?
Well, I used the term entrepreneur loosely, and some people will disagree with me and say you're not an entrepreneur because you didn't create a business per se, but it really depends on the definition that you have for that word entrepreneur. I guess this question is really good because, yeah, it's been overused. It's like when we say social media expert, social media guru, social media ninja, and whatever. There are some words and titles that we like using and overusing and abusing because they sound nice, and we want, to blind people basically with our words. That's what we live for. But yeah, I think the word entrepreneur is starting to be abused, not as much as social media guru or expert, but it's starting to get there. So we may have to find a different way of defining people like me, I guess. So yeah.
So okay, am I an entrepreneur? I'm a blogger. I mean, I do have a daily full-time job, but the blogging side of my life is something that I'm growing and that I consider a business. So am I an entrepreneur in your eyes?
Do you feel like you are one?
Yes.
Then you are. You don't mean my blessing to consider yourself. One of the things that I say to people when they talk to me about their business and so on and so forth, I say, you have to own your expertise. You have to own who you are. Instead
Yes.
of saying, I write about such, say, I blog, you know? Just like when I worked with independent artists, when they used to tell me, oh, I sing, blah, 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 I write music, I said, no, say, I am an artist. You own it, because when you use the verb be, it's the identity. That's the root of the English, right? So it means you consider yourself as this person. So own it. Own it, because the big problem is, as I see it in North America, is that people lack a lot of self-confidence. And that's what prevents them from actually achieving their goals. When I was in high school, my teacher, it was grade 8, my teacher told my mom during the first parent-teacher meeting, if your daughter speaks English one day, I will retire. 10 years later, I was at university, and my professor asked me what I wanted to do later. And I said, I want to be a professor. I want to teach English. And she laughed at me. She laughed at me, saying, oh, you'll never be able to make it. You'll never be able to speak English. And now here I am in this interview speaking to you in English, and you understand me.
Yes, in perfect English too.
Thank you. If you let people, tell you what to do, you'll never be able to make it. So if people tell you, oh, you're not an entrepreneur, blah, 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 and then you can ask them, so what are you doing? Instead of criticizing me, what are you doing? So you have
Very.
to own it.
I like that. Oh, and it looks like Todd's asking another question, but I think it's the same question.
No, that's the question, yeah.
A
I see.
duplicate. Just a duplicate.
So
So
I hope, Todd, I answer your question.
I hope so too, because I think you did. So we're winding down here, and I just wanted to say I'm amazed at what we've accomplished tonight, even though it's our first time and we had a little fun with it and it was nice, and I definitely know that we'll be doing this again. I want to remind everyone how amazing Cendrine is, and you can contact her at socialmediaslant.com, which I believe is shown at the bottom of her screen. Say hello, yes?
Yes, I think it is.
There
Yes.
it is. Woo-hoo.
Yep.
All right. So go there, look for amazing tips, things to help you out with your social media strategy. If you need assistance with anything in that realm as a blogger, as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, that is the website to go to. Sign up for the newsletter. And of course, we have these 2 amazing books, the Little Big ebook on blogging and the Little Big ebook on social media audiences. Both of them you can get online easily for $12.95 for the both of them. Or if you buy them separately, what happens, Cendrine?
You buy them separately.
But it's more money to buy them separately.
So you can bundle it up. Basically, you can bundle it up and get the ebook for $12.99, both ebooks for $12.99 instead of $14.95. You can get them via my website, and you can also get the ebooks via Amazon. So.
Yes, which I just posted on Twitter. The links are there, so people will be able to get that from you, as well as I said, the YouTube video. I will make sure that all of the resources are listed underneath our description here today. So once again, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time tonight to talk with us, the world.
No,
And
thank you.
once again, I know we will be sitting in the same spot having another interview about your newest ebook, or perhaps we will drill down and do little short snippets of maybe half hour sections of something that's really specific. I was thinking maybe we do that because this was very general and big
Yeah.
and grand and vague and broad and
And,
large.
and,
Yeah.
and,
So
no.
it's hard to cover a lot. So definitely we will do this again. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
I look forward to talking to you in person soon, as well as online.
Soon, soon, soon. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.